Hello and welcome to Mindful Living, where we explore the art of living with the intention, balance, and inner peace. I am Avik, your host, guiding you through conversations on health, meditation, mental well being, mindfulness, and the mind body connection. Each episode features expert insights to help you grow, heal, and thrive. So, take a deep breath, relax, and join us on this journey to a more mindful and fulfilling life. So, let's get started.
Hello and welcome, listeners, to Mindful Living, where we explore the intersection of mindfulness, health, and personal growth. Today, we are excited to welcome Nick Jain, the CEO of Ideascale, a pioneering innovation software company. Welcome to the show, Nick.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
So, listeners, before we proceed to the discussion around the topic for today on mindfulness living, I would love to introduce about Nick to all of you. So, under Nick's leadership, Ideascale has become a cornerstone for the innovation efforts of some of the world's leading organizations, including NASA, Comcast, and Doctors Without Borders. Now, let's look into Nick's remarkable journey. So, Nick's remarkable journey started from a small city in India to graduating at the top of his class at Harvard Business School, which is nothing short of inspirational for all of us. And his experience spans top investment firms like Bain Capital and Greenlight, and he has led transformative business changes across multiple diverse industries. And today, with Nick, we will delve into the role of continuing education in adulthood, the value of reading, learning, both for pleasure and professional growth as well, and how these pursuits contribute to a more mindful and balanced life for all of us. So, Nick, welcome to the show again. It's a pleasure having you today with us.
Thanks again for the warm intro.
So, Nick, your journey from a small city in India to the CEO of Ideascale, it's really inspiring for all of us. So, what's your opinion on the importance of continuing education? How it played an important role in your personal and professional growth?
Sure. Thanks for the great question. So, once upon a time, I think people only used to think of continuing education if you're a doctor and you need to learn about the newest drugs. But in today's world, if you're not continuing to educate yourself and learn formally, you're basically your skills are deteriorating rapidly. And a really good example of this is generative AI. Obviously, it came out about 2 years ago now. Everyone got excited about it. Everyone's kind of using it, but there's actually some really amazing courses you can take on how to use these generative AI technologies well. And 99% of people haven't. And if you fast forward about a year, employers are not just going to be asking, hey, can you use generative AI, but can you use it well? And if your answer to that question is no, you're probably disadvantaged in the job market. So it's really important that people continuously or take continuing education courses. And I'm speaking from personal experience. I actually just completed 3 courses on Coursera to learn how to use generative AI and prompt engineering more effectively.
Wow, wow. Leading by example, Nick, definitely. And you have achieved significant success across multiple industries. I mean, that's a unique feat of its own. So, how do you stay updated and continue learning in your field? Of course, you obviously shared that example, especially in this fast evolving world of innovation and technology.
Sure, I'll give a few examples. Number one, whenever you show up to a new job or new circumstance, it's important that you actually try and actively learn. So if you're showing up to a new job or new industry, don't just try and learn by osmosis, by listening and doing your job, but actually go out and proactively try and read about your industry or your job, whether that be blogs, whether that be textbooks, whether that be courses. And as an example, And then specifically in my industry, for example, if you're working in technology,
Mhm.
software is constantly changing. Programming languages are changing. Programming frameworks are constantly changing. So it's really critical that anyone working in tech, whether you're on the business side of things or the engineering side of things, are constantly learning. As an example, for me, aside from courses in like the prompt engineering courses, I'm actually taking 3 different courses in software engineering right now, as well as reading a textbook on the infrastructure that underlies the internet. And that's some of that is just for fun because I like knowing how my industry works, but some of that is really critical because I realize if I don't have those skills, then someone else will, and will be ineffective at leading our company and our industry.
Hmm. Interesting. And with a busy schedule, how do you find time, make time for learning and self-improvement? Are there any specific resources or methods or processes which you use?
So that's a really good question. Finding time is difficult, but your question about making time, that's the key word. So I make time to formally learn, right? So I obviously have obligations to my wife, to my friends, to my job, but I make sure to formally allocate between 1 to 10 hours every week where I set aside, it's on my calendar, hey, this is when Nick is going to go study. And that study could be to take an online course, it could be to go read a textbook, etc. Um, the resources I use, it's actually really interesting. In 2024, there's so many extraordinary resources that are available totally for free, right?
Mhm.
My favorite, for example, is Coursera, which is an online university. It's totally
Mhm.
free to use unless you want the certificate. So you can go on and take courses on anything from classical music to marketing to
Mhm.
computer programming, and it's totally free. Alternatively, there's an infinite number of blogs out there, YouTube videos, textbooks that are available in EPUB format for free from your library. If you want to learn, 2024 is a great time to go learn about almost anything for totally free if you have an internet connection.
Absolutely. Wow. And uh, can you also share how reading has influenced your career and mindset as well?
Sure. So I typically read kind of 3 types of things. Number one is junk literature, such that is just fun to read. For me, that's fantasy novels and sci-fi novels. I love reading them. They don't necessarily make me smarter, but they help me relax.
Uh-huh.
Um, this, and that's been a habit since I was a child, and I've continued on to it in my adult life.
Wow.
Second, I'm making as an attempt as an adult to read the great novels. So I'm trying to read Paradise Lost and Moby Dick and a couple of the other famous works in a bunch of different from a bunch of different cultures because I think that's really important for me to read some of the great novels as an adult. Um, and then the third are books for learning. So I actually, I'm reading 2 textbooks right now. One is on the principles of object-oriented programming, and then the
Wow.
second is on, as I mentioned earlier on this call, the infrastructure that underlies the internet. Those are my types of reading, and the first one is entirely from a relaxation perspective, and the third is really from a career perspective or career advancement perspective.
Wow, that's really impressive, Nick. Really impressive.
Thank you.
So, how do you think, as you mentioned, relaxation, how do you think mindfulness and reading or maybe continuous learning are connected? Can practices from mindfulness influence how we approach learning?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll give 2 thoughts on that. Firstly, if you're making a conscious decision to learn about anything, right? That could be classical music, that could be about English literature, about programming. You've
Mm-hmm.
made a conscious decision, and that's a mindful decision by definition, right? So that's when you've made a decision in your life to go learn about something. That's a very conscious, active decision in your life, and therefore very mindful. The second is reading as a form of entertainment or relaxation. So we have lots of different forms of our entertainment available to us. We have TV, we have video games, we have YouTube, we have music. Most of those are passive forms where you just turn on the TV or turn on YouTube and listen to something else going on around you. You're not actively engaging. Reading is really fundamentally different than that because you have to actively use your brain to read. Otherwise, you're not literally understanding the sentences going on. So, reading is a conscious or very mindful form of relaxation. Again, it doesn't matter what you're reading, but the very act of reading is fundamentally different than turning on Netflix or YouTube.
Hmm. Great. And Given your experience in leading diverse teams, how important is it for leaders to engage in ongoing education, training and development for their teams as well, and personal development also?
So I think it's really critical. At Ideascale, for example, we actually have a significant budget to allow people to take continuing education of whatever their preference is, right? If a marketing person wants to go take a programming course, we'll generally support that. Or if a marketing person wants to take a marketing course, we'll support that as well. We support a lot of continuing education. And we think, again, that's good for the individual. And it's also good for us as a company if somebody comes back and is more intelligent for us, is more intelligent and more productive an individual for us. Specifically, so that's at the company level. Specifically for me as an individual, it again goes back to what I said earlier. It's critical that no matter what point you are in your career, whether you're junior, senior, or the CEO of a company, that you're constantly learning because the world continues to evolve and your skills need to keep up with that. So as CEO, I actually spend about 20% of my time learning because that's really important for me to be able to lead other members of my team effectively.
Great. And before we wrap up, Nick, what advice would you give to adults, or let's just summarize today's generation, who are looking to start their own journey of continuous learning and personal growth?
So the advice I would give is do what creates value for you personally. By creates value, that could be it gives you joy, or it helps you in your career growth and helps you achieve kind of money, fame, success, professional growth, whatever motivates you outside of just pure innate joy. If you're not doing something in life that creates value for you, either joy value or monetary value, you're probably not going to stick with it over the long run. So if you don't actually enjoy reading and it doesn't give you joy, you're probably not going to stick with it for the long run. So it's really important to pick something in life that you are intrinsically motivated to pursue, and you'll live a much happier, more conscious life as a consequence.
Well, Nick, thank you so much for the informative and insightful discussion on how learning, reading, and mindfulness are connected. And if our listeners want to connect with you, know more about how you are bringing revolution in the world of technology through Ideascale, your interests, if they want to connect with you, how they can do so?
Sure. So for the company, our website is ideascale.com. If you want to connect with me personally, I'm available either on LinkedIn, just search Nick Jain Ideascale, or email me at nick.jain@ideascale.com. And I'm always glad to help people out or respond to emails or DMs.
Great. Great. We'll mention the links and show notes for our listeners to reach out to Nick. And thank you, Nick, once again for joining us today and sharing your insights on the importance of continuous education and reading for personal and professional development. Your journey, your endeavors, your interests, they are truly testament to how lifelong learning can really transform our lives and careers.
Thank you so much, Sana. It was a pleasure to be on your show.
Absolutely. And to our listeners, I would like to share that personal growth is definitely a continuous evolving journey. And every step you take in learning and mindfulness brings you closer to a more fulfilling life. So tune into next time for more conversations like this on Mindful Living podcast. And until then, stay curious and stay mindful. Thank you.